Watching a little ballet history there.
To write an article about?
No article, just
Hmm,
perpetually watching.
crazy. Never would have
Yep.
guessed it.
Me neither, man. Well, I'm a vlogger now too. Wouldn't have guessed that either.
We'll get to that. All right, Chaz, welcome back to the show. It's December 14th, 2023.
So good to be here. It feels like forever.
Well, it's only a few days away from Christmas. I think we should have designed some Christmas advice into this show as we usually do.
Oh, it'll come. Don't worry.
Okay.
I think the Christmas spirits will flow. And I
Well,
don't mean eggnog.
we've got one more week, it looks like. Maybe we could do that next week on the
Uh,
22nd.
Christmas does not fall on a podcast day, does it?
No, it's on a Monday this year.
Oh, yeah, good. I mean, not that it matters, to be honest. I think you and I are in such an Iron Man streak. We would tell the families to go kick rocks for 2 hours while we went and did the important work of surf talking.
Well, I do have content scheduled throughout the holiday weeks, Christmas and New Year's, because I get bummed out for the podcast that I listen to when the schedule is interrupted at the end of the year. People take like a month off.
Well, and are you kidding me, David Lee Scales? What time of year do people more need entertainment as form of, yeah, escape from obligations, family, not that your family's bad, but all of this kind of stuff. Like this is when people should ramp up. Like, for shame, this holiday is not for you, hard podcast workers of the world. This is when you need to double down. This is your like playoffs here.
Well, this is where we're going to catch up on all the downloads that they're leaving behind. We should
Great.
really do some marketing this next couple of weeks and find some new listeners while they've got nothing else to listen to.
That's what we need. And then we can slowly shed them through the year, but pick them right back up against next Christmas.
Yeah, well, you know, a new place that we could find listeners?
Where?
YouTube.
Da da da. YouTube is the place.
YouTube is absolutely the place. I'm going to read a listener email that'll segue really nicely into the fact that you've entered the vlogosphere.
Great.
This is also partially in light of our conversation, our ongoing conversation about mid-tier pros from yesteryear and how we were always thrilled to see them pop back up into our lives.
Timmy Kern.
No, but I would love to see him.
I popped him up today.
Did you?
Yep.
How
Oxnard
so?
locals furious at being snubbed. Oxnard was named the least fun city in America. I think actually Pearl City, Hawaii was, but Oxnard I think was number two. And so the story was Oxnard locals rage filled. And who do you think of most as an Oxnard local?
Sean Purple Haze.
Ooh, I got Timmy Curran as my number one in the Oxnard scene.
And I was just trying to throw you off and reach even deeper into the
That's a good reach.
archives. Yeah, thanks, perps. Um, Timmy Kern, though, I mean, to be honest, blew up Silver Strand. Like, I had heard of it. I don't know if I ever saw it in magazines because I wouldn't know, it was that like obscure. And then every video clip that Timmy Turner put out, it was a specific spot that was going off in every Taylor Steele movie.
And by Timmy Turner, you mean Timmy Curran.
Oh,
Lot of
sorry.
lot of confusion with that Timmy Curran. Name, same last name as Tom Curran, except spelled differently.
Right.
And same first name as Timmy Turner, spelled the same.
Right. Yep. Sorry. Did I accidentally say Turner?
You did, but it's good.
I do that all the time. I've learned.
The crazy thing is when you do it and don't catch it and somebody else catch this happens to me all the time too. And your brain completely was thinking Curran. Your mouth said Turner, but there was no like correction ever in there where your brain was like, no, no, yeah, you said Curran because that's what you're thinking.
So, what's weird is that I've now gotten to the point where my brain does catch it 30 seconds later.
Uh-huh.
I'll be rambling to you. And then at the end of a thought, I've said it on air to you.
You
I'll be
have.
like, did I accidentally say blah, blah, blah like 30 seconds ago? And you'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you did. No. Oh, sorry. I meant blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So like my brain somehow catalogs it, but it doesn't catch up. I don't know what's going on.
It's called rendering.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. All right. Listener email. What's up, David? I have heeded your and Chaz's advice to get off social media. And while I do feel the benefits, I am fairly starved for surf clips. Now I'm pretty much reliant on my Stab membership for super trendy, cool surf news, but I was let down by the Sean Manners electric acid surfboard test. Love Sean, his surfing, and his whole blase-tude, but not quite the acid tester we deserved. Anyway, now that I'm off Insta, I doom scroll YouTube and randomly found this video linked below. It's Adam Robertson surfing a bunch of freaky Greg Weber shapes and discussing the virtues of an artist taking something to the extreme. Not the most artistically directed piece of surf cinema, but if you like meat and potato surfing, a bit of thoughtfulness and old footage of Shane Herring going absolutely mental on banana boards, you might enjoy. And he links to the footage. And then he says, P.S. Thinking of canceling my Stab membership. Seems like they're pretty much becoming beholden to the quote industry. And I feel like every article slash piece of narration has hints of Ashton's writing slash voice, which I find supremely irritating. Viva la revolution. Keep work, bon voyage, etc. Stephen from SF.
Thank you, Stephen, for the note and for also the YouTube pivot.
Exactly. And I will say, I highly recommend everybody watch this Adam Robertson footage. I will put it on today's show page associated with this episode. Um, Adam Robertson, for those who don't know, Torquay surfer, Bells surfer, surfed his way through trials of a Bells event one time and made it. I think he lost the event. I think he finished second to Joel Parkinson, but he has just this, and then he got a sponsorship at that point, but was like unsponsored up until then. And even that sponsor didn't last very long. But his surfing is just super grounded in the fundamentals of bottom turn, top turn, but tons of power. And I watched this video that Steven sent. Adam Robertson is still surfing as good as ever. And it is almost a crime to say that he was like a B-list pro surfer because he actually is every bit as talented as A-list pro surfers. He just didn't, for whatever, have the machinery behind him to get him as much visibility as those surfers get. But his talent is insane. And you watch him surf those boards, he goes into turns, just full power hacks. And you're like, oh, he's just throwing that away, or he's going to like put as much as he can into it. But when he gets to the finish of the turn, he's going to just like eject. And then he finishes the turn, like, and completes the ride and stands up again. You're like, I haven't seen this since Poncho Sullivan. It's crazy town.
I mean, I feel that the surfers that we get to see on the regular, like the John Florences, the Dane Reynolds, the even Mick Fannings, Parkos, all of these guys, yes, they do surf phenomenally, but then they also have like two extra, I guess, tools in the box of like kind of consistency or being able to show up, more or less regularly, and then also a marketing arm behind them, pushing them.
Right.
So they are surf well, are present, and are, getting pushed out. Where Robertson are these kinds of guys, right? Whom you got to have all three, I feel. If you have two of them, if you surf phenomenally and are consistent but have no marketing arm behind you, nobody's going to see you. If you surf super well, have the marketing arm but aren't consistent, then, obviously there's going to be nobody's going to see you. Like you need those three things. It's like that silly game of, you have those three, choose you need all three in
Yeah.
order to actually arrive, which I suppose makes the Dane Reynolds, et cetera of the world that much more impressive, is that they not only took their preternatural talent, but they consistently applied it and then were either lucky enough or savvy enough to attach to juggernauts who would push them out and make them household names or surf
Complete.
household names.
Yeah, completely. And Adam Robertson and Greg Weber don't have some of those things. And this video is a result of that. It's criminally underviewed. It's like this incredible piece of content that's just going to fall in with all the other white noise. So
Except for
it's
if you're
direct
trolling
attention.
YouTube. I mean, this YouTube, I feel I'm like a decade too late to YouTube, but if maybe more, maybe 15 years too late. But YouTube as a repository of, you got to do a little more work, right? Like there's no YouTube, or maybe I'm so dumb. Maybe there is a YouTube feed, but there's no like that I'm aware of YouTube Instagram feed, right? Where you're scrolling and you're just only getting served, which the laziness of getting served, I think now is the baseline, right? Like if it's not my feed, well, I don't even have enough brain power to type anything into a search bar anymore. So I'm gonna scroll my Google or my Apple News or my Google News, and whatever headlines they're serving up, that's what I'm gonna read. That's what I'm gonna know about. I'm gonna watch Insta, whichever surf clips are there. That's what I'm gonna think matters at the time. YouTube, I feel demands a little bit more, but it's like walking into a library in a way and having to have an idea kind of, and then having both the time and the energy to go down rabbit holes of going from, say a Dewey Weber shapes to follow, where does that lead you, right? What comes after that? What do you remember from that and where to go?
Yeah. Um, you would not believe how adept Austin is at 2 years old
At
navigating
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's all my daughter watches too, is it's pure YouTube, right? Like for punishment, more or less, I make her watch Netflix. Like, hey, get off YouTube. Like, watch something long form. Okay. Then she'll watch
Well,
Gilmore Girls. But
well, so he's two. He has an iPad, and it didn't take him long at all. Like the first week or two, I'm over his shoulder being like, let me close the advertisement for you. What do you want to watch? He says Halloween. So I pull up Nightmare Before Christmas clips, and then he can poke around from there and maybe look at the sidebar and find something. But
now he's fluent,
now he's closing ads.
fluent in
He's
YouTube.
he's scrubbing back to the part of the song from Nightmare on Christmas that he wants to hear
Yep.
again, over and over again. I'll leave the room for a minute or two. I come back in. He's on a video. He somehow went from that Halloween to watching somebody play with an exact toy that he owns.
Yeah.
So like
Yep.
I don't even know how he found it, but he found the exact toy that he owns and he's doing it intentionally. He didn't randomly end up there.
No,
It's
no.
it's incredible.
Kids speak YouTube absolutely fluently, which is, yeah, like, I mean, anytime I have a YouTube question or need help finding anything, I gotta grab the daughter and say, hey, where is this thing? Or how do I do this?
Yeah. It's wild. Anyways, welcome to the world of YouTube, Chaz. You are finally entering at the ripe old age of not sure what.
47 years old, exactly when people are supposed to start a vlogging career. David Lee Scales, I'm a vlogger.
Well, if you want to hear something really weird, there are 47-year-olds who play with kids' toys on YouTube as a job because he's found those too.
I feel that's what I need. That's the next pivot right there.
Maybe they have
I
millions
do
of
have
views.
my Sunbums. Too bad they're not a sponsor anymore. I do have my Sunbum toys they used to give out
Oh yeah.
that were the long staple of bath play. When daughter was taking a bath, we'd go play. There's Philippe Toledo. You can imagine what happened to Philippe Toledo in the various bath scenarios.
Well, Sunbun will be back
Great.
throughout when the seasons warm up here in the northern hemisphere. They'll be back. So hold on to that content. Um, I'm curious, how is Salento tequila?
Have you never had it?
Never had it. I think the bottle is beautiful. I've
Yeah.
just not encountered it.
Oh, it's
Otherwise, I
great.
would buy a bottle.
It is a great tequila. I'm gonna bring you a Salento. Wish they were a sponsor of the brand new YouTube show. They're not, but I will bring you a bottle. I owe you many gifts, I feel. And so bottle of Salento. It's great. It's a phenomenal tequila. It's Taylor Swift, of course. I
Of
mean,
course.
Taylor Steele. Poor Taylor
Um,
Steele. And
uh,
Sybil Steele, his wonderful ex-wife.
well, the bottle is so prominently placed in the foreground that I just presumed they were the ones who were behind the episode.
Nope, that was
Okay.
me dreaming,
Nice
me
of you.
manifesting
Nice of you.
per Joe Dispenza.
So, the episode number one just dropped this past week is Chaz Smith Hates Pro Surfing. Is that the name of the whole series or just episode one?
Chad Smith Hates Surfing is the name of the series.
Got it.
And so I will riff on things that topics. I might not hate him at the end, but just topics in professional surfing or not
So
professional surfing. Sorry, surfing.
surfing. I'm sorry for saying professional surfing.
It's okay.
So, the idea for the show is basically a weekend recap of what happened in surf news that week.
Kind of, or like the one or two topics that at least is worth riffing on for that week.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what was the topic last week?
Topic last week was Pat Tenore starting the brand Tenore, which I still feel is very ripe for not fun making. Don't get me wrong here. Like I feel Pat Tenore has proven himself. I mean, in the first episode of Chaz Smith Hates Surfing, I discussed like I remember when Ruka pivoted to MMA, I was like, what is this joke? Like, this is ludicrous. Why is surfing, pristine, beautiful, important surfing, hitching its cart to this sideshow that's certainly going to go away, right? Like this MMA thing,
Yeah.
this fight, whatever, is has nothing to do with surfing and it's going to go away. Not only did MMA not go away, like I would imagine that the majority of Ruka's money making is on that side, I'd have to think,
Yeah.
on the MMA side. But it's not two random things. Like Tenore has woven those seamlessly, where it's the BJJ stuff and the whatever stuff, the fight game and the surf game. Somehow, even though they are totally disparate, he has woven those aesthetically into one brand, Ruko, right? Which I mean, his the whole tagline, balance of opposites. Like he achieved that uh beyond what I ever thought possible. And so I have no doubt in like Patinore, I would be a fool to doubt him again. He seems like a real mastermind, except this Tenore brand seems like super half-baked and not it doesn't seem like it's going to work, partially because as we learned with Hurley, you throw your last name as the brand, and if it sells to a Blue Star Alliance or a authentic brands group, and all of a sudden it's on vapes and whatever garbage, and there's Tenore on there, then it seems like not a smart call in this day and age.
Well, I'm apprehensive to weigh in on whether the brand will find success or not, just because it's too early and I don't know anything, about what the objective is for the brand. Um,
I
but
mean, Billy, did you watch the Pipe Masters?
I did, and we started seeing stickers
And
on
I
the
mean, Billy
boards.
Kemper, I accidentally caught a Billy Kemper interview. And by accidentally, I mean legitimately accidentally, and had to listen to the whole thing because I was stuck. But he talked about it and he was like,
Uh,
really shout out to Tenore and this brand. And wait, it's going to hit hard. It's about love and it's about family and it's about just, he went on and on and on. And I don't find Billy Kemper personally interesting. And so it jarred me what he was saying. But other than that, yeah, it seems like it's like there's a real discussion about it already. It's not just like a sticker that's like TBD on what the brand is going to be. It seems like it's already they figured it out.
See, I'm not sure if they have like, or maybe they have in their little group, but usually I think it's pretty prudent to keep that all pretty secret and then launch with a strategy. It's weird that it's launched with a sticker, a couple of stickers on a couple of boards, and I think a hat without really much of a logo. Like the font is all very basic and simple. There's no identifying symbol or color or anything like that. So it to me does feel kind of half baked. And if it is just a replica of what they did with Ruka, where it is MMA gear and surf gear, then I'm not sure what the point of distinction is at this point.
Unless Kemper was right and it's all about like family and
That's
stuff, and then they're going to be making, the Tenore barbecue, beach barbecue, and like it's about, I don't know, a family adventure surf lifestyle thing so that you can get your kitted out, well, what, like your sprinter van, your Tenore sprinter van that
I,
comes with X, Y, and Z. Like
yeah.
like it seemed like there was it's family, it's bonds, it's something kind of thing. But I thought that was what DePactus was supposed to be too.
Yeah, that was a short-lived business venture. I think a bunch of people lost a bunch of money on that.
Really?
Um, what's that?
Did they lose money
I
on
mean,
DePactus?
I remember a period where Mark Healy was calling out Luke Egan on Instagram of like, you're such a fraud. Like, where's my money? You said you're going to do X, Y, and Z. It was like a pretty public display of animus.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that leads us to the Pipe Masters.
15 or something like that. I love a pipe specialist at pipe. It is art. It is not an event. And so this thing was exhibition times 10. The whole thing smacked of exhibition, and there was no wait or when John John and Moana both won, it didn't feel, it felt like, oh, cool. They won the local charity softball event. Sweet. And that was the Pipe Masters.
Yeah. See, I think you missed it. I think you're wrong here.
How?
Well,
How?
part of what
Did you, when John John won, did you think, boom, there's my pipe master. He's a pipe master. There was no feat. Gabriel Medina wasn't out there. Like, there was nobody, like, to be a pipe master, you've got to go through the gauntlet, which is what has made it so great. The gauntlet, of course, partially is the wave, but it's also Gabriel Medina backpedaling you on that wave. If you don't have Gabe out there, to name one of many who were missing, but particularly let's lean into Gabe, how is that a victory? It's like I won the NBA world, I won the NBA title, except no stars were like LeBron wasn't playing, like no team had its stars, but my team won.
so the answer is there isn't a long list. There's five people from the CT who I agree with you should be out there, and that would validate the Pipe Masters, or at least allow it to live up to its name and that what it has been in the past, the same level of prestige. And those five people would be Gabriel Medina, Kelly Slater would be one of them. I don't know. There's a couple more off the CT that weren't in this event.
I mean,
Kanoa,
Idolo, I'd say.
yeah, Idolo to a certain degree for sure. I mean, Kanoa, he's won a pipe master, right? I didn't know he's been in two finals.
Hello,
Uh,
Handino.
I forget. So there's a couple, but otherwise, I almost prefer this invitee strategy because out of the 32 surfers on the CT, very few of them are going to go out there and get a 10 at pipe. Very few of them are going to get eights at pipes. There's more out of this field. And the format itself, I think, is an improvement. There was 48 surfers, and all the surfers got to surf three heats. Obviously, it's a leaderboard format, so the best waves end up and the top four scoring surfers end up in the final together. It's a much more democratic way of doing it. And I know
Except
that
for,
there's always going to be the scenario where your heat happens to be during one of the lulls and you're not going to get any waves, but that would happen in a CT format bracket event as well.
but I
And
felt
so,
that happened ridiculously in this one, where there was surfers who had their first heat was flat, their second heat was pumping, or vice versa, and they couldn't make it through. Just purely, it was not, it was based on luck of the draw, where I feel surf scoring is stupid and completely subjective anyways. Uh, Making it less subjective would be the goal, and this seemed like it made it more subjective, to be honest.
well, I can't argue about whether it's more or less subjective. I think it's more fair this way.
I mean, but how is it more fair? Because there was guys like I saw who was it that got like a 10, and so there was somebody, there was one of the heat.
Harry Bryant
Yeah,
was the only
Harry
one that got
Bryant.
a perfect wave.
Exactly. Harry Bryant's perfect wave, and he didn't even have a shot to get into the like final heat because his first heat had been lowly.
Yeah, well, the argument would be on the bracket format if it was the WSL event. If you had a wave starved, you only need two wave starved heats and you're out of the event totally. You lose the first heat, you go into the elimination round, and something goes wrong in that heat and you're out. So you could be John Florence at pipe and still lose in the bracket format if it just works against you. Whereas in this, you get three shots no matter what.
I don't think the bracket format is, I think the bracket format is fairer than this format. This format seemed patently unfair. Sure, you got to see more surfing, but a lot fewer people had a chance to get through. And the chance to get through was based purely on the luck of your heat, and particularly on that finals day, where one heat was on and the next heat was entirely off.
Well, at the end of this event, the people who surfed the best in the event won the event, which I think is a
Testament.
it's a testament.
Except
Because that
That Harry Bryant wave seemed like a travesty. I mean, there seems like to be, if you're going to do that way, surf three heats, I feel. I'm no surf contest organizer, but surf your three separate heats, and you're like, there's got to be a way where if you have that Harry Bryant wave was the best wave surfed of the entire event. No?
yes.
I mean, that thing was ridiculous. It was one of the best surfed waves of a heat that I've seen in, I'm not going to say forever, but in at least between last year and this year, the only I remember that wave, right? I remember that wave like I remember Idolo's first wave at the box, where I don't remember very many waves from professional surfing heats. That one was indelible. And the fact that he had no shot to even advance after that wave made me think, well, there's something wrong with this format.
No, I disagree. Like you need three waves to do it. And so he got the best one wave of the event, but he's not as savvy a competitor as John John. So the other chink in his armor is he's on a big board and his goal was to sit out the back deeper than anybody and look for that wave. That wave comes through once a day. He happened to be the one to catch it, but you're not going to get two or three of those waves. Whereas John John is going to get an eight, and then he's going to look for a five, and then he's going to try to improve the five up to a seven. And that's how you win an event. So it's just John John's competitive savvy. I mean, and obviously his
Skill.
unbelievable skill. Like
Sure.
but plus the competitive savvy from traveling the world and doing this constantly year in and year out, which Harry Bryant doesn't have. And Harry got the hero moment gratefully, and that makes the contest exciting, but you're not going to dethrone John John. And that's where somebody like Moana took Harry's approach, or maybe we could say Harry took Moana's approach, and she looks for those waves at West waves at Pipe. Molly Picklum, on the other hand, she got second place, but she has more tools in her belt. She goes right, she goes back door, and then goes left. You know what I mean? So she's won the event last year, and she could be a contender for dethroning Moana next year if the waves aren't as good and big as they were this year, because Moana's just looking for that one style of wave.
I mean, and let's just give Moana Wong Jones her proper due here. Watching her go I mean, she surfed phenomenally.
Totally.
I
Well,
mean, unreal.
a lot of the women did in ways that in the past the women haven't had as much again of a fair shake at it. Like the WSL would put them out in lesser quality surf or when the swell is smaller at pipe. These girls got a fair crack at it as fair as the guys did. And it's usually in the past been one or two women who seem to really want it. This time around, it was a ton of them. They
I
were
mean,
going. And
Mother
even
Mother Clarissa shredded it.
totally.
Like,
Well, and girls that were they were like throwing themselves over the ledge, knowing that they weren't going to make it in a way that we do not see even Felipe Toledo do when he's at
I,
pipe, or a lot of the men in the past.
I mean, for sure. And the argument before, I remember when, was it just last year that the women had their first crack at pipe? It seems like eons ago, but I think it was. I think it was just last year that that was the first women's heat at pipe, other than the one that they shifted over to end at
Yeah.
pipe
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
Honolulu with the Shark Attack. And all the grumpy dude commenters like they suck, get them out of there. And the girls were like, or the narrative at least was, we haven't had a shot yet. Give us a shot, give us a shot. And it seemed like the women boot stomped any single detractor here. The level of progression on the women's side was like a hockey stick, I think. The men are what they are. Like that Harry Bryant wave or whatever. You'll see a phenomenal wave, but you see phenomenal waves regularly out there from on the men's side. The women raise the bar so much where I imagine next year, like the progression there, and especially with the young ones coming up now, getting to surf pipe regularly as their thing, which World Surf League, us, everyone, pro surfing in general, should like deeply shame themselves for holding the women back for generations, for not letting
Yeah.
them go for generations.
The new crop that we've been talking about coming up and disrupting is here. When you look at the finals, it was Aaron Brooks. The only one from the old guard who made the final actually was Carissa Moore.
Yep.
But other than that, it was the new guard coming and throwing themselves over the ledge and also making waves, like meaning completing the rides.
Yeah,
So,
totally. But and
yeah,
like there was no like kind of shoulder, hopping barrel to claim. Like Moana got full spat
Hyped.
out
Yeah.
of a couple. Like Carissa did too. Like, I mean, there was, yeah, I mean, I was more impressed watching, not more impressed watching the women, but I was like, wow, they were exactly right. All they needed was more of a shot here, and they have upped the bar times 10 over last year, which, we'll see what happens moving forward. But I would imagine the leaps and bounds of technicality, of comfortability, of, yeah, throwing it, all of it, like it was all there on display. But again, at the end of the day, this should have been like, let's put this all into perspective, David Lee Scales. This should have been either the season ender for the World Surf League, the Super Bowl, or it should be the Super Bowl. Like Vans and the WSL screwed it up. They screwed it up and they made the best event in surfing. You can try to defend it, and it was a good show. Don't get me wrong, but it is relegated to a weird sideshow that has no meaning, anything beyond, okay, I won the Pipe Masters, which should be, I won the Pipe Masters. My name is etched in history. It just needs more. And Vans doesn't have it in the tool. Like Vans is struggling and the World Surf League has abandoned it. So I blame more the World Surf League for abandoning the. How do you move away from that? How do you
Well,
end at trestles when this should have been it?
it's insane that we're even having a conversation where we are advising the WSL to recognize Pipeline as the pinnacle event of the season. It's just obviously like that's so dumb that we have to even say it. But I do, and I also agree that the WSL is the one who gave up the IP for the Pipe Masters name, which was a huge misstep on
I
their
mean, I think
part. They
Vans
should have.
had it. The WSL just wanted to move it to the end they wanted to kick the season off with it, right? And so in order to do that, they needed to move to the end of whatever, December, start of January, which, and Vans was like, nope. And so, I blame Vans too. Vans should have said, okay, let's work out a deal here. But I mean, I guess not, because kicking the season off with pipe is stupid. You got to
It
end at pipe.
you can open it and end it at pipe. They could do
Yeah.
that. They should have
Yeah.
done that, in fact. So, yes, losing the Pipe Masters title or name the IP and not ending the season there is a total misstep. But the waves validate the legacy of the event. So I felt like last year the Pipe Masters was a letdown, but it was because the waves weren't great. Those key players that you already talked about weren't quite in it. Ballroom Stack winning, it's kind of like we love Ballroom. He deserved it that year. But yeah, how does he surf against Gabe? How does he surf against Kelly? Like that's what we want to know. And this year, I feel like the waves did show up and enough of the key surfers did show up as well to kind of assert the validity of the event. What I think this does, though, is more than it does what you're worried about, I think it questions the validity of the WSL at this point. Like, if this event actually is better than the Pipe Pro that they throw, then that becomes a problem for the WSL.
Well, and I mean, in if this was going to be a perfect world, right? And the WSL implodes basically, and these events kind of become a standalone Grand Slam kind of series where you have the Pipe Masters, you have Bells, you have whatever. There's like five or six, majors and then whatever minors. Uh, then yeah, then Gabe would go to the Pipe Masters. There's no way he would sit out a Pipe Masters, right? The only reason Gabe sat out the Pipe Masters is because, like, in terms of his goals of WSL, which is where his money is made and his bread is
Yeah.
buttered and all that, he needs that, right? And so to go do a Pipe Masters, you risk, I suppose, injury or whatever. I don't know why Gabe wouldn't do it, to be honest.
Well, I think it's because this is the only time of year where they have like 2 months off at once. And so he's already in Brazil. He doesn't want to fly back to Hawaii in the middle and break up his vacation.
I hear that, but also this should be, and Vans maybe did a worse job of selling it. Like, there's no way a Gabriel Medina should miss the Pipe Masters.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so maybe some blame goes on you too, Gabe.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. You know how we would do true grit or clickbait stuff about your articles? We're now going
Yes.
to do it about surfer magazines
Great. Are there
headlines.
AI headlines?
Well, coming off of the one that we talked about last week, did you see their title about the pipe event this year?
No.
Quote, video, semicolon, shark attack changes women's pro surfing forever, with an article about the pipe event.
I mean,
So I was like,
was there a shark
what?
attack at Pipe?
There, how is it that they're the only ones reporting on this? I was watching the event. There was no shark attack. What? So I click over the byline or whatever second line of the title says equal pay, comma, shark attacks, comma, and pipeline, dot, 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 women's pro surfing evolves. I read the first article and they talk about WSL implementing equal pay a couple of years ago, then about the shark attack that happened in Maui a couple of years ago, and then how that led us to Pipeline. And now the surfing that's happening at Pipeline is like a flashpoint for female surfing. But the title says video, semicolon, shark attack changes women's pro surfing forever.
Well, dang it. They really are beating Beach Grit at its own game.
I mean, really? Isn't it? I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that was such a misleading title.
And if it got you to click,
I know it did.
then that's like well done on them, I will say. That is, if it got you to click, the problem with that is this is what I've learned. My long now career as a I'm not clickbait, David Lee Scales, you and I both know I'm not, but writing a provocative headline will say that you've got to deliver on the premise, even if it's funny or amusing, where somebody can go back and say, "Oh, they got me." But get something out of it, right? Even if it's just pure annoyance. But this kind of thing where you don't get annoyed, I mean, you're annoyed, but it's like it just makes distrust
Yeah.
in. Now, next surfer headline you read, I mean, it might take a couple of these, but eventually you stop clicking entirely. And that's the danger of this clickbait game, where
Yeah.
you've got to always deliver on a promise, even if the promise is entertainment. But this is not, you didn't click on that to have a historical traipse down memory lane.
No.
Like you knew
I I
everything they
felt
said and
I
didn't need,
felt I felt invested in the headline actually. I was like,
there was a shark
wow,
attack at
that
Pipe.
that's a legit story that I somehow missed.
Yeah.
And they must be giving me something of value now when I click on this. And then I click on it and it's completely bait and switched.
Well, I mean, in great news, I suppose the Arena Group's CEO was just fired a couple days ago, Ross Levinson, and so I think I would imagine that whole thing is a sinking ship, and that hopefully Surfer will go back to the grave where it belongs.
He was a handsome or is a handsome man, by the way.
He sure is, but look at that. I mean, when the CEO goes down for AI scandal, and Surfer Magazine is very much wrapped up in AI scandal, I'd have to think that. I mean, I
Wait,
hope the
did he
whole
get
thing.
fired for an AI scandal?
He did, yeah. Ross
I
Levinson?
thought I thought that's just what you were referencing in the article because you had written an article about that last week.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
no. That's what he got fired for. It wasn't a surfer AI scandal. I
Right.
like the surfer one was small enough, I think, to where it's no scandal. Surfer can run AI bots, and there's not enough people reading surf to care. It was the Sports Illustrated AI bots that got him fired.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, well, moving on to our next story. Do you want to talk about Palm Springs Surf Club or get a tools to live by call?
Let's go tools to live by, then Palm Springs.
Okay, let me pull up the share screen. This one's a real dilemma that this guy's gotten himself into.
I feel that he's come to the right place.
I do too, but I feel sorry for him as well. Volume up.
Side of Oahu calling in. This is Chad Mellon on the east side of Oahu calling in to the grit. Hoping to get some good advice on quite the pickle I got myself into. Yesterday, in the finals of Pipe Masters, me and my buddy cut out of work. He's in from California. It's in Maui, got a sweet KT surfboard. Got the carbon wrap on it, all the fancy new deals, and went up to the North Shore. We had a great time, kind of maxed out Rocky Point. At a certain point, he said, "Hey, let's switch boards. You know, I want you to try this new board. Give me a little feedback." I was a little hesitant just because of how big it was, but he was like, "All right." we'll switch. We never had a real conversation though, like if I break this board, we're paying, any of that. I was just back of my mind a little worried about that. I was thinking about maybe breaking boards. So I get one sweet little wave, super fun wave. Somehow the set that stayed open didn't close out. Paddling back out, a real big just closeout came through, nowhere to go. See the lips coming right down for my head. Ditch the board, swim down, grab a coral head, hang on. I hear the sound of just shattering glass. Sounds like the carbon breaking, and come back up, half a board, 15 minutes swim in, and there I am. So some advice on that would be great. Thank you very much. Keep up the work. Aloha.
He didn't pose a question, but I presume he's asking
What to do?
whether he should compensate his buddy, or how do you handle that?
I got this, David Lee Scales, all day, every day.
Good.
This is no problem for me right here. Is it a problem for you?
It's a delicate situation with a buddy like that. It's a brand new board. And
It's
the other thing is, in the past, I'd be like, oh, you got to compensate your buddy. But surfboards now, a shortboard like that with the carbon, it could be $1,000.
I know, but I'll say this, boards and children were made to be broken, David Lee Scales, is if you send your kid over to somebody's house for a play date, if you send young Austin over and Austin falls down and bonks his chin and needs to get stitches, do you hold the person liable that you sent him over to?
I guess not. No.
You don't. You're a jackass if you do that, right? You could, but you were a rude person. Accidents happen, and that's just life. Like, could happen to you, could happen to me. Tough beans. Sorry about it. If his friend is a good friend, of course, that sucks. You lost your board, right? But it could have been you doing it anyway. Uh, like things come, things go. You don't blame others, especially when it comes to boards or kids or cars. If you let your buddy drive your car, and he gets in a fender bender, uh, what is okay? You let him drive your car. Like that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like there's holding people to account for things. We'd all be a lot better. And I don't believe in karma, David Lee Scales, as you know, but I do believe in the not the what goes around comes around, but it's just like and I know it never works out, right? Like somebody drove smack my truck was parked on the street the other day. Somebody smacked into it, left a note, a kind note that was like, I am so sorry. Whatever you need, here's my number, right? And I texted straight away, don't stink and worry about it, right? Knowing that that's never gonna like I do that to somebody and the person's gonna say I did that to somebody and they tried to wring my neck for like as much money as they could get out.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's not like you're expecting, but I just feel if we all, hey man, my thing gets broken today, your thing gets broken tomorrow, we all just move on. I think this guy has no you could be really sorry. You could like say if you have an extra board in your quiver that he could use in the meantime, whatever. But I think it sets a bad precedent, in fact, to attempt to pay for it. It makes it seem like you did something wrong.
I totally agree with you now that you say it and walk me through it. And I do feel the same way. I felt that way even before addressing this. I was going to try to give a diplomatic answer, I guess, and say, like, you should definitely offer to pay. But you're right. In my heart, or when I think about with my best of friends, there would be zero question, zero obligation to pay or make it right. If you are going to let them borrow your board, it's just accepted that
Totally.
this is a friendship, and yeah, I want to try your new
Things
board, you
happen.
want to try my new boards whenever you want, yeah, and things happen. The only question that comes in is, the analogy of letting your friend borrow your car and then they crash it. Are they a drunk driver? Like, are they a problematic driver? But if that were the case, it's on you for even handing them the keys.
Precisely. And recklessness, I feel like disregard for the thing that's being used can be a caveat, right? Like if they say, "Hey, give me your car, man," and you give it to them, but they're like untrustworthy to begin with, and then they go, out to the desert and crash into a boulder because they're ripping donuts, you know, that's still on you there, but this recklessness. But and so if friend here, if our Hawaiian friend was out like, hey, oh, can I borrow your board? I want to go surf like Mason Ho for a minute. I want to
Right.
go pack a rock barrel. Then, like again, you're dumb for giving your board. If he was being reckless, but this right here, a closeout on a bigger day where dude is surfing. It's not like this guy said, hey, can I borrow your board? And then went and paddled out on a bigger day. Dude
Yeah.
was out there. He knew the size. He knew everything. We all know risk. We all know like expected outcomes. And especially to hold somebody for to account for somebody that was like none of their doing. I think it just sets a bad precedent. I think grace and like stuff happens, man. Like,
Yeah.
and the
Well,
person who bought it lumps the cost.
I was thinking in advance that the right thing to do is to offer to pay for the board, and then the right thing to do for the buddy is to decline. But I'm going to wash that away and say
Yep.
instead, the right thing to do is to not extend, not offer anything at all, just to be
Sets a
like,
bad
we're
precedent.
buddies. But if the buddy whose board is now broken does expect some sort of compensation, that's where you have to reevaluate the friendship. And
Precisely.
if he does, you're obliged at that point to be like, I guess I got to make this right, but this forever changes the trajectory of our relationship. I
Totally.
thought we were buddies, but now you're going to nickel and dime me.
I,
Shoots. I
I
guess we're
see
not.
I see this as a transactional kind of thing and
Yeah.
whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
definitely don't be flippant about when the board gets broken, like, oh, it sucks to be you. Your board is broken now, right? Like, I'm so sorry, right? And if you have an extra board or if you can, of course, like a gesture is a gesture. But paying like offering to split it or whatever is again bad precedent. You don't want to set
Yeah.
that precedent in a friendship. Friendship is about both absorbing loss and having others absorb your loss, right? Like this is part of what friendship is.
Yep. Completely. Yeah. I fully agree. Well, we've forgot to mention at the opening of that segment, but Veyer Watches is who brings us tools to live by because they're the ultimate tool in our lives. We don't need any electricity to charge it. We don't get text messages on it. It is an old school analog Veyer watch, VAER watches.com. 20% off their website through the holidays. So forget about our promo code that we used to get you 15% off with. Get the 20% off on VeyerWatches.com right now.
And I'm telling you, everybody knows this. Like this time, it's crunch time for gift giving right now. It is like shipping. You're like running up to some real proper barriers here. Uh, Nobody, not one man in your life will be bummed to get a watch. Not only will they not be bummed, this will be the gift that they remember and actually use for the rest of the year.
Completely. It is a timeless gift, actually,
I mean,
incidentally.
it's classy. It shows thoughtfulness. It
Yeah,
shows intention. American constructed. It's a perfect gift.
it really is. And by the way, seriously, getting text messages on your watch has to be, I mean, that is the definition of hell for me.
I see people with Apple Watches and I think, what in the world are you doing?
I know.
Not only are you getting text messages on your watch, your wrist vibrating, you've got to plug your watch in at night or your watch is not going to work. I can leave
Crazy.
my stinking Veyor. I don't do anything with it. I wear
I
it
know.
and then it gets charged with the sun.
I
That's
know.
it.
As if we're not getting, notified and pinged constantly. Like we all need distance from our phone, but then you're going to strap it to your wrist for additional notifications. Insane. Well, let's talk about Palm Springs Surf Club. It is opening, I believe, the first day of January, I think is when
Yeah,
it
January
opens. January
1st.
1st. Yeah. Pretty exciting stuff. I've surfed this pool a couple of times now, once most recently in the new kind of build and construction of it 2 months ago. Um, you guys wrote an article about it and about the pricing. You can get an advanced quality wave, like a kind of barreling slabby wave for $200 an hour with 8 other people in the pool. So you all sit out there together and then a set comes, and on that setting, there's 3 waves per set. So you just cycle with the 8 other people. You're in groups of 3. You each get 1 wave in that set. and then you wait for 2 more sets and then get the next go at it. So over the course of an hour, you're likely to get a dozen or so waves with that type of interval for $200. The intermediate setting's 150, and then the Waikiki beginner setting is $100 an hour. How do you feel about this? Are you excited? Do you feel like this is fair pricing?
I'm so excited. Should I turn light on now that we're YouTubers, David Lee
Yeah, do
Scales?
you have a light?
I do. Hold
I
on,
was
real quick.
expecting, if you did have one, I expected you to turn it on.
Yeah, but I'm not a good YouTuber yet. Hold on.
Okay, go. Chaz, for those who are listening to the audio version, has been sitting in the dark for the last 15 minutes after the sun went down. And I didn't think I needed to tell him to turn a light on.
Oh,
I just presumed that he would have done it on his own. But apparently,
there we go.
I have to operate as the producer as well and
Is
give
it better?
cues to turn the light on. Yeah, looks great.
Okay. I am honest to goodness thrilled. I'm like going to book passage to I mean, I love Palm Springs. Palm Springs is a lovable place to go, unlike Lemoore. I've never been to Waco, Texas, but Palm Springs got to be better than Waco, Texas. But yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled about this new reality in my life. And pricing seems totally great. It seems completely worth it. Pumping swell here the other day, uh, midweek maybe, like proper good, right? It was like good, good. Uh, Everybody is so frothy on the peak that it just turns into a nightmare, right? You have a bunch of people who don't surf very well, but who paddle really well, who have surfed for
Mm.
a long time, but do not surf well, who can catch waves, but surf poorly. If I see frothy dudes out there and they're like frothing and they get in and they're just blowing up the wave, I feel that's cool, right? If I see frothy dudes out there who are frothy, like just lapping, and they do the same suck straight line every time, it starts to boil my blood so much. And I know that I should be a better surfer and just like outposition them and whatever, but I don't have that much froth. And so something like this feels like it answers those, ticks those boxes, right? Where you just go, you don't have to be in the froth pool. You can go get some waves that are good, right? You've surfed it. They're
Yeah,
good, yeah.
yeah, very good.
By all look, they seem good. And so you can go get your wave fill for a price, and it seems totally reasonable to me. $200 for 12 waves seems exactly market value.
I think they nailed the pricing
Yep.
because I don't want to say it's cheap, or I don't even want to say it's affordable, because for the most people that are living paycheck to paycheck, it's a stretch, but it should be, because it's a luxury and it cost $80 million to build. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, this isn't free. This is going to a destination. They've dialed this place, styled it out. Everything's dialed in, and you should work hard for your money and spend it on things that are meaningful. And this is a super cool experience. And I think it's 12 waves for an hour is totally the right fare. Like, you will feel like you got your money's worth. You'll feel like you got enough shots at it to like really give it a go. You're gonna botch a couple because you're out of sorts and you're in a new environment and all that, but you'll get enough opportunities to shake the nerves off, go, you'll actually accomplish your goal within 12 waves and feel great about it. You'll be enticed to do it again, to pony up another $200 or 150 or whatever it is. So I'm totally down. My experience there was like feeling like a child at Disneyland again. And so I highly recommend it. And I will meet you out there, and then we'll go to the heyday afterwards for martinis and burgers.
I honestly can't wait. I mean, again, there's no place or very few places I love as much as Palm Springs. Now that Palm Springs has a wave, and everything I've read and seen and love Lochtefeld. This is Lochtefeld's tech, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, love Tom Lochtefeld. I can't believe it feels like a real gift. This one here feels like a gift for Southern California. And the fact that it won't get like the way they did it, you book it out, right? And so you
Mhm.
book your time. So it's not like you're going to show up and all of a sudden, oh, dang it, the pool, there's 50 people in the pool. No, I
No,
just got to scrap again. Like,
it's so orderly. It's what you were saying, kind of. And Andrew Kidman actually mentioned this to me on air. He was like, I would expect him to be the most critical person of wave pools ever because he's so old school. He was like, no, I loved the wave pool. And I'm like, what? And he said it was everybody's stoked. Like it's
Yeah.
like the original days of surfing where there's so few people and there's order. Everybody's taking turns. They're cheering for one another. Nobody's rooting for you to fall, like, and I go, you're right. I never thought of it in those terms, but that's exactly what the wave pool is. There's this camaraderie that exists in it that used to exist in the ocean, but now the ocean has become a cesspool of, you know, narcissism and wanting yours, just
I mean,
wanting it for yourself.
I've taken it for granted, I guess, or didn't want to actually recognize it. But the world's population has gone up in our lifetime. What? Like, I mean, it was, I don't know, probably 5 billion when we were born, and now it's almost 8 billion or something. And you can feel that
Yeah.
extra 3 billion. I feel it
Yeah.
on the freeways. I feel it in the water. Like there is just a lot of people, and the ocean, as obviously surf breaks. Yeah, but I remember paddling out at my locals down here and having, of course, it would get crowded on good days, right? But it wasn't like it was this past swell. And granted, there hadn't been good swell in a minute. And so I think everybody was like, that's not even true. There was good swell. People were frothed out of their brains and like aggressively, everybody just like da 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 on their bigger boards, sucking when they got up, but making
Yeah.
sure they got theirs. Which
Right.
again, like if you suck, and this is a PSA to everyone, if you suck, if you're not a good surfer, go get your wave and then just like get another one way later. Like you don't need to have another one for a while. You suck. No, you are a lifelong intermediate. You're gonna shit that wave. You're gonna do nothing good on it. It'll feel good to you, and that's wonderful. Stop frothing. Stop being like there's some old dude out there on the biggest board ever who paddles for everything, catches half of what he paddles for, doesn't care if somebody's on the wave at all, just as because he's old enough to have the like, okay, grandpa's going, I guess. Uh, and it's just like, you're just wrecking it. You literally are wrecking it for everyone. And then everyone takes that attitude of, okay,
Yeah.
grandpa's paddling for everything. We got to paddle. Everybody's like, every single wave was dropped in on by like four people, just frothed out of their heads. And they were legitimately good waves where if somebody could have organized the lineup and said, hey, back of the line, bros, like you
Yeah.
guys all suck anyway. And so get to the stinking back of the line.
Well, this is another PSA for all of those beginner surfers because they're going to find their way out to Palm Springs and they're going to find their way into that pool. And here's an important PSA from them that comes from a listener, Nicole. She says, hi, DLS. Hope all is well. I saw that Palm Springs Surf Club has officially opened, so I thought I'd drop you a note. Not sure if you saw the Beach Crit article about my accident at Waco. This article was written 3 weeks ago by Derek, and it was entitled Venice Woman Says I Almost Died After Being Impaled on Fin at Waco. And so she goes on to say, short or long story short, but I got clipped in the barrel. I think maybe my fins hit the bottom and slammed on the concrete. The fins got me in the abdomen and ruptured my aorta. Had to be helicoptered to a trauma hospital and almost died from internal bleeding. So gnarly. It's kind of crazy because you and Chaz were talking about wave pool safety, but my trip was already booked. I made the decision to ignore it and go. Since my accident, I've heard from so many people that got hurt there. Not as badly as me, but hurt nonetheless. I've actually been in touch with Becca Speak, and she also had her accident on the left barrel at Waco. It's so incredibly shallow, and that concrete is no joke. I didn't get the impression from my Waco experience that they were very serious about safety. You sign a waiver, and it's Texas, so you might as well be in Mexico. That's how you have to think about it. I doubt Stab will ever talk about it because the wave pools advertise and they run their contests in wave pools. So please keep up the work. In all seriousness, I don't want to spoil the fun, but this is a conversation that should be happening. So thank you and keep talking. Best, Nicole.
Nicole, thank you so much. And it really is, I think, a very important PSA is not to dampen the fun, but like to just be real about it. How you make a wave is violent. Like waves, and especially it's violence out at sea, right? It is a violent storm far away out at sea that brings us our waves. And those waves, we could have days where it's 2 to 3, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, whatever, right? But any one of those is created by a violent storm out at sea. Creating that violence in a pool right next to you, these things are violent. Like even Kelly's plow when it starts running, like
Yeah.
the blasts of air coming out, and to think that, oh, it's in a controlled environment, and so it's safe, I think is a foolish place to begin with. Not that you should be timid going in, but you should not think, oh, this is like a lazy river. It is certain wave pools are certainly not lazy rivers.
No, you should. There is a false sense of kind of safety and serenity, I think, for sure, in the pools. Um, but also, in addition to the intensity that you're talking about, it breaks once the water gets shallow in the ocean and on in the wave pools. So the shallowness is what she had to deal with, and what I remember at Kelly's pool. If you're on the face of the wave, it's just deep enough right there. But if you're just behind that, and if you wipe out, you end up just behind that, you realize how shallow it
Yeah, I
is
mean, you
really
smack the
quickly.
bottom.
Yeah. And then if you're there and another wave is coming at you, you don't realize like you can't dive down. You certainly can't duck dive because you'll hit the bottom instantly. So these are highly important things to be aware of. In the Palm Springs pool specifically, the bottom is shaped like a V. It's shallow in a V, so the wave breaks in an A frame and then peels down that V. But the V drops off, probably in order to help create that Waikiki section. So that V, where it's shallow, drops off at a 90-degree angle to like 8 to 10 feet deep. So I ate it on one particular wave, rolled along the bottom, and then the next thing I know, I was in not only deep water, but I put my hand out and I could feel a wall next to me. So I thought that I was just in like 3 feet of water and I'd be able to push up off the bottom and then just, get a breath of air in the next 3 seconds. But I rolled off of the V into the deep water without knowing it. And so then I realized I'm not in deep water anymore. I put my hand out and I'm touching a wall. And I'm like, what in the world is this? And then another wave goes over me at that point. And I'm like, oh, dang, 2 wave hold down. Because that's how, the sets come that quickly there. And so I was like, oh, well, no big deal. I know I can hold my breath for even all 4 waves if I need to. I just went full calm mode, realizing what was going on, and then made my way to the surface. No big deal. And now I was wiser. But I was thinking about if it was a beginner, they would have a meltdown in that moment.
Panic down
And
there.
the panic would make things way worse. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So being aware of these kind of details and that you're in a pool, but it's not safe.
yeah,
You're still responsible for your own safety. And you're going to find yourself in a situation like that where you do have to react and negotiate and figure your way out of it. So staying calm is key, but being aware of all this stuff is the first key.
totally.
Somebody in the comments section on her article on Beach Grit did mention, seems like they could put just a firm rubber padding on the bottom, like a bodyboard type material that would prevent, certain injuries.
So I think what had the problem with that is, if I recall from and I can't wait for a listener to call in and correct me, that stuff rips up real quick. Like
Mm.
the amount of water pounding down there, like any kind of cover on that cement gets just torn to shreds like fairly quick.
Yeah, from fins too, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nicole. And yeah, congratulations to
So congrats.
palmspringssurfclub.com. Yeah, major. This has been a long time in the making, years in the making, and I think tens of millions of dollars kind of beyond the original budget.
Can't wait to
So,
do it.
yeah, exciting times for them. Let's go to commercial break, and then we will be back to wrap up with Barrel or Not. Chaz, we are back from commercial. I still can't believe how much John looks like John Daly.
It's true. I saw a younger picture of John Daly today, with Tiger Woods talking about how he was hungover and still drinking Jack and Cokes while beating Tiger Woods. And I was studying his face and I was like, stinking young John Florence right there. It's John Florence minus the beard. How did you
I
like
really
Ivan's mustache though?
crazy town.
I mean, all the Florence brothers have legit decided to be old-timey Montana miners
Yeah.
and have gone full old-timey Montana miner in their overall look feel.
Yeah, he does. That is exactly what his is. His like 1800s
Yep.
pioneering out west, working in a mine somewhere. That's
Yep.
what Ivan's is for
I
sure.
I think Nathan has to clean his up the most since he's married to a supermodel.
Yeah.
Or yeah, Nathan.
Runway
Yeah,
model.
runway model. So yeah, he's got to have kind of presentable. John, just John Daly's.
Well, I feel like I'm living in a simulation. Like AI has taken over at this point. John surfing is superhuman. John Daly is a cartoon character. And the
Yep.
fact that they look alike, I'm like, the computer had a glitch and maybe they're not supposed to look this much alike. Maybe we're not supposed to know this and we're just seeing behind the curtain somehow of the Wizard of Oz, you know?
Yep.
It's bizarre. Anyways, we're going to hit that every year, every show when we come back for commercial,
Thank you.
because people need to know. People need to acknowledge it.
Please, people, call
Yeah,
in.
I need to see a TMZ article and
Yes.
and then I'll stop talking about it. Mount Warshaw needs your help, everybody. EOS.surf is doing a fund drive right now. Go give him some money.
Just do it. You will enjoy EOS, and you think dictionary, a surf dictionary, or a dictionary, sorry, a surf encyclopedia. But you will use that thing. You will, like YouTube, you will go down, you will fall down the various holes in there and be wildly entertained for hours upon hours.
There's nowhere else in surfing that is vetting truth versus fiction and curating history and archiving it for us. This is the place. It's $5 a month now. I think he raised the price, but that's nominal. You should absolutely be doing that. There's no reason not to. But beyond that, they do a fund drive at the end of every year. And so if you have a charitable budget that you're responsible for your company or anything like that, you need to throw some money somewhere so that you don't have to give it to the government. Boom, EOS, make that your consideration.
Throw down.
EOS.surf. Okay, barrel or not, number one is coming at you from the listener line. So here we go.
Yo, what up, Chaz? What up, David? This is a call for the grit. By the way, this is James who called with the question about tandem surfing a few weeks ago. Thank you for all the takes on that one. I feel real enlightened now. I got a follow up. What do you think about putting a sticker on your car from a break that you don't live near? Like the other day, I was at the beach and I saw a guy with his car. You know, he had like a sticker from his favorite shop in Puerto Rico, but he's in Jersey, and I'm wondering, you know, barrel or not, putting a sticker on your car from a shop real far away. Later.
So I'll take this a step further and say Zion stickers that I see on cars or Yosemite stickers that I see on cars in Southern California. They went somewhere, they loved it so
They
much,
put
they
a
want to
sticker on their car.
advertise to everybody else their love for that spot.
Okay, so I'm going to go no barrel on the place. If you love a place, then you keep it quiet, especially as discussed in this day and age of 8 billion people on Earth. If you love Zion so much, hush hush on Zion. You don't need to be putting Zion into other people's train of thinking as they're stuck in traffic on the 405, right?
Yes.
No barrel. When it comes to a local surf shop, I'm going to say barrel. I'm going to say if I'm sitting there in traffic and I'm looking at this local's weird surf shop in Puerto Rico and I'm taking it in thinking, oh, okay. Uh-huh. Then I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm going to remember that bumper sticker maybe and go to that surf shop. So I feel you are paying it forward. If you have an exceptional surf shop experience on foreign shores, so much so that you're willing to sticker it on your car, do it. If you're only doing it as a flex, like, oh yeah, I was in Puerto Rico, then don't do it. In the same way that
Yeah.
you should not do Zion or, yeah, whatever, Big Bear. I mean, have at Big Bear. But
I was looking at it wrong then, and I muddied the water by saying Zion because there's a difference. And the difference is commerce, I think. Like if you have a surf shop that you love and you want to advertise for them and direct attention to them, and then you sitting in traffic see that bumper sticker, and maybe it's what you said. Maybe you've never been there, but maybe you have been there and you're like, I love that shop. Now we are brethren. You and I
Yes.
have something in common, and we want to support this small independent business that we both love because we've been, to this niche part of the world that loves surfing, and they love their.
Yes.
So there's a whole different thing happening there. Whereas Zion, I feel like, is just a flex.
No, if you're,
Zion is
yeah, if you're flexing, no, no, no. If you're buying Tamba from Kauai, don't go to Kauai to begin with. Kauai is pretty lame, and you shouldn't ever want to really go there. But if you're buying a Tamba sticker to show that you've been to Kauai, then definitely don't do that. But if you're buying a Tamba sticker to say this shop is a sick shop, by all means, put Tamba on your car.
Yeah, I kind of get it now, and I kind of agree. However, this completely defies a rule that I've set out from years
No
back in a
stickers.
barrel or not, which is no stickers on the car.
Guess what though? Wait, guess what stickers I have on my car right now, David Lee Scales? I have two stickers.
I've seen them. I can't recall what they are.
I have a Beach Grit sticker
That's
on my
right.
car. That's a good one. It's the Crying Geordie, our classic early mascot, Crying Geordie. Crying Geordie was such a good mascot. It's should bring it back. It's really underappreciated by fans everywhere. Geordie Smith bawling his eyes out as our mascot. It's really good. And then I have the San Diego Academy of Ballet and Ballet Theater sticker on the car, David Lee Scales. So
Wow.
wait till young Austin finds his baseball team, his whatever, 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 and then reevaluate the sticker program. And I'm not talking about reevaluating in terms of my child as an honor student. It's not about that. It's about like the institutions that sort of fertilize young Austin. Then you think, okay, that's what I think. I gotta pay it forward here because Hemi is getting something real serious out of here. And if any parent sees this and are wondering, like, unlike surf, more the merrier.
Got to support it.
Exactly.
Well, I have a new mascot for you to replace the crying Geordie with,
Gimme.
John Daly.
Oh, so true.
And it has to say, like, it has to say John Florence under it or something
Yeah.
like that. It needs to be some tie together.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah, something along those lines. Workshop that a little bit. Barrel or non number two, not paying the meter for parking at the beach.
I'm a gambler by nature, except for when I'm in Vegas. Except even this gamble is like you're gonna lose. Beach towns, that's the one thing they know people are gonna do. So you can go like kind of deep LA and roll the dice. You can go anywhere there's a parking meter, they think this is a valuable parking spot. So likely there's going to be a parking made circulating, meter maid circulating. The beach, they don't only have one, they have like five going laps. And so if you really want a ticket, then don't feed the meter. But you know you're not going to get a ticket. And if you don't get a ticket one time, you're going to get a ticket the next time. If you could say like go five in a row without getting, you're still only saving like $6. You're going to get one guaranteed after two.
Well,
So it's just not worth it.
I guess it does depend on the city, because a listener who wrote this said, I've surfed 10th Street in Huntington Beach uh, quite a bit, and I never pay for parking. I haven't for years. I park on PCH, not in the main lot, and I've never gotten a ticket one time. This seems to also be the case in Laguna, but less so in Newport.
I
So
mean,
indicating Newport's a little bit more vigilant about it. But
yeah, this guy seems like he's playing with fire and he's probably hopefully surfing just in the winter, I would imagine. I would imagine there's less vigilance in the winter on this kind of
yeah,
thing in beach towns.
maybe so.
But yeah,
Well, I break all sorts of rules and laws now, post COVID, that I wouldn't have really thought about breaking pre COVID, because I don't know, like the tax uh on the police force is greater now, and they're doing all sorts of different things, or maybe there's fewer police officers now than there used to be, or something changed to where I get away with petty crime that I never used to get away with, like driving in the carpool lane, for example. As a single person in the car, I drive in that carpool lane all the time, and
you have
it's
talked
a
about this and it freaks me out. You've
it's a
talked about this and I never do. And I regularly on my commutes see people pulled over, single dude off the carpool lane, sitting with the cop. It is a $500 ticket or something.
Yeah, well, if I get ticketed for it now, it'll round out to be about 3 cents per trip.
You're fine now. You're good.
Yeah.
It's worth it now.
Yeah, I'm way past the point of this is profitable for me. But I guess it might just depend on county and city, you know?
I mean, I don't know. And maybe I feel that there's a real win in just being so for a long time in my youth, post college, I think, maybe when I was a graduate student, I thought red lights are a full fraud. If nobody's coming, then nobody's coming. I'm
Yeah.
going. Like, why am I sitting here? I can look both ways and see nobody coming. I'm wasting my time, wasting everybody else's time. I'm going. Like, screw this. Uh, I did that a bunch and then woo, like got pulled over in Buena Park. It was a
Well, you got too confident in it and you weren't being vigilant enough and looking for police officers.
I guess so, but like that's what happens, right? But that's the
Yeah.
kind of cockiness you have to have because if you're rocking carpool, it's too late by the time you see the police officer. By the time you've seen the officer, he's seen you, and there's certain ones that hawk that carpool thing. So it's eventual, right? Like the cockiness though is what gets. I ran a lot of red lights in those years, and that was fun. And then the cop was laughing when he came up to the window so hard. He was like, "What were you doing?" I was like, "Well, I didn't see anybody." And he just laughed and wrote me the ticket, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I implemented that same exact rule too with red lights. When there's nobody around, it's not a risky move at all. In
No,
fact, I would argue it's more risky sitting there like a in the middle of the road waiting somebody might come up and hit you
you're
if
easing
they're not paying
traffic.
attention.
Everybody's
Yes,
moving one up in line by you taking the initiative and moving forward.
there's nobody around. I could see clearly both ways. Boom, I'm going, especially at a left turn or I just need to make a U-turn right here, or whatever. Um, And then the carpool thing, the key there is most, especially during traffic, the only time that you're going to get passed by a cop is if he's on a motorcycle. And he has to be looking ahead of him. He's paying attention to a bunch of different things. He does not have time to glance. First of all, my windows are tinted. So he doesn't have time to get past me and then look back through the windshield over his shoulder. He's got to make sure he doesn't crash his motorcycle or somebody doesn't pull out in front of him. So I've been passed by, I would say, a dozen motorcycle cops in the years that I've been doing it. Not one has glanced back at me. Not one has pulled me over. I'm fine.
Brave flex.
I know. So don't pay your parking meter is my recommendation as well on this one. Um, Barrel or not, recommending music to a friend.
Zero barrel. This is a never turns out well, David Lee Scales. You keep your nice music to yourself. You play it. If a friend happens to hear it and says, "What are you listening to?"
Fine.
Then you can share. The second you say, "Hey, have you heard?" or "You should listen to," I've realized music taste is so personal. It is like everybody thinks that their taste is, I will say good tastes exists in music in terms of classical, maybe jazz. Then you can have good taste. You can have a finer tuned ear to hear, like I've been listening to a bunch of Stravinsky, like more and more complex kind of Stravinsky, just to learn, not saying that but you understand how the cheeseburgers of my youth, right? Like, and now I'm eating more complex food, and you don't like eat it right away and say, "Yum, this is good," but you sit with it and you soak
Yeah.
it in, and you realize that complexity is something, right? Uh, the music you're going to recommend is going to be pop, rap, whatever stuff.
It doesn't even matter what it is, because even if you recommend Stravinsky to somebody, they're not ready to ingest it.
Totally. But at least then I can say the weight of history says this is good. So
You
you're
just look
wrong if,
pretentious at that point.
but I'm saying that this has a historical backing. You're wrong if you don't like it. I'm still not going to recommend it to you, but the onus is on you to like it. This is objectionably good, objectively good. It's not objectionably good. It's objectively good. If you don't like it, the problem is on you. If I recommend Weezer's whatever Blue album to somebody and say, "This is sick. Do you like it?" and they're like, "Nope," then that shows that I have bad taste.
Yeah. it seems like such a simple question, right? Recommending music to somebody, how could that be wrong? Except it's never once been appreciated by the person that you recommended to.
Never.
I'm telling you, people have recommended music to me 100 times in my life. I don't think I've ever clicked play on one of them. You know what
Not
I mean?
good.
And it's because I have my own tastes. I have my own things that I'm interested in. When I get in the car, I'm looking forward to listening to something. The odds of me clicking on something random that you sent me, even if I like you, even if I trust your taste, the odds are zero. Um, the reason why I bring this up is we had a friends over to the house 2 weeks ago or something. And the guy's like, "Hey, have you heard the new blah blah whatever album?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh man, it's really good. Like it's better than their older albums and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out sometime." I go about my work, cooking and hosting or whatever, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey, we should put that on." I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
Coming into my house trying to
Putting
play
your,
DJ?"
yeah,
Like I was
no.
like, so I honestly like I wasn't rude to him, but I was just short of being rude. Just
Yeah.
fully snubbed him and walked away.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, I see him
You hear it.
he has Lauren cornered. And he's like, I can see what he's talking to her about. And I'm like, this guy's got to be kidding me. She goes and grabs the remote and puts it on for him. And later, after the fact, like later in the night, I was just like, what was that? She goes, he would not leave me alone. He brought
Yeah.
it up 3 times until I had to change it. And by the way, as soon as I saw her put the remote down, I walked over, grabbed the remote, and switched it back to the appropriate playlist.
Yeah.
But I was
Evening
like,
jazz.
yeah, I was like, this was an extreme example, and this person is just uncouth, like that's on them. But beyond that, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, it's never appreciated for some reason. Music is something that we don't want recommendations about as human beings.
Don't be that person. And to think that this is, feel the way it feels to you. That's okay. To feel that music, that is not replicable in or replicatable in another human. Like
Right.
your feeling for this thing, the chances that you're going to share this and somebody's going to say, you know, you're right. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, no,
It's
don't do it.
bizarre. It is a
Don't
very
do it.
bizarre thing that
This
there's
is the biggest and best PSA, maybe holiday PSA we've ever given.
do
Keep your
not
dang
recommend.
music to yourself.
And if you do recommend it to other people, you are going to be that guy,
It,
essentially.
if you want to share music with others, invite them over to your house, not under the guise of sharing music. Just invite them over to your house, have drinks, charcuterie, maybe a dinner. Play the music that you like. And then if somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, what are you playing?" There's your opportunity. There's
Yeah.
your missional. I saw two poor Mormon missionaries yesterday outside of the market trying to, like, really, I saw him, I made eye contact in the market and then saw him outside really hitting somebody up, you know? And I'm like, if you were like through a party and had some nice charcuterie, some Martinelli's, sparkling cider, invite people over, then maybe you'd have an audience for this, right? This is, nobody wants this at the market.
Right.
Holidays at this time, nobody wants this. Like, that's you, music recommendation, bro.
Yeah, exactly. They're actually hurting their cause in
Yeah.
this scenario
Yep.
because,
You will
yeah.
hate now what he recommended. Oh man, I gotta
Well,
run. I gotta run to get the car here, David Lee Scales.
okay, final thought real quick. Did you watch I Think You Should Leave, and did you like it?
Yes, watched it, loved it, highly, highly recommend it. It was wife and I like in bed, unable to breathe until we had to
Okay.
turn it just because it was too much funny.
Because Chaz texted me that night. He's like, "What's the name of that show?" And then I never heard a follow-up text about you did like it or didn't like it. So I thought you didn't like it.
No, no,
But
watched it that night and was like, it's one of those ones that it hurts your rib. It's like eating just like pure candy though, where you got to turn it off after a while because it's just so funny. And it's like rapid fire funny.
yeah, one episode, it's 20 minutes long, is kind of enough. You don't need to
Yeah.
watch the whole season at once.
No, no, I'm going back in tonight though.
Yeah, so
Funny.
recommendation for listeners, not music recommendation, but I Think You Should Leave is the title of the show.
TV is great recommendation, by the way.
Agreed.
Unlike music, TV, because I'm always looking for the things I'm missing, and you can dip into a TV show and know if you like it or not right away, and know to
Yeah,
back out right away. It's not like, oh, for some reason, listening to music that got recommended that you don't like is really annoying.
it's
It's like this,
weird.
you don't even know me, man. If you think I was going to like this,
exactly.
you know nothing.
It's offensive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. VayerWatches.com, of course, drinkag1.com/surf and LinkedIn.com/surf. Thank you, Chad Smith. Go to beachgrit.com, surfsplendorpodcast.com. We'll see you next week before Christmas.
Keep work.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Timmy.